Welcome to Lead Different, the podcast that redefines leadership and challenges the status quo. Hosted by Daniel Dominguez, founder and CEO of Why Not Leadership. This show is your compass to becoming a better leader through the power of self-awareness. Good leaders foster teams that are engaged, empowered, and energized. Join us on this transformative journey as we equip you with the tools and insights to lead different. Get ready to challenge the ordinary and embrace self-aware leadership. This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different, because great leaders change the world.
Well, good morning and good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Lead Different podcast. I'm so excited today to be talking to my good friend, your future good friend, Jackie Joy. How are you today, Jackie?
I am fabulous. Any better, I'd be twins. Just kidding.
You know, it's so good to have you on the show. We've been wanting to get you on the Lead Different podcast because you're involved in so many cool things. And the most exciting thing is your newest collaboration with Don Barden and his book, Here Come the Girls, Transform, and how that is going to transform leadership. So I know that's going to be a lot of what we talk about today, Jackie. So thank you for being on today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And before we get going, I want to thank you, Dan, for bringing so much education, conversation, so much to leadership in today's world. They need to listen to podcasts like yours. Appreciate you.
Well, we're glad to be a small light in the universe that hopefully leaders are listening to. And as you said, that leadership's a big space, right? And one of the things that we pride ourselves on at Why Not Leadership is leading different. What are you willing to do? One of the things we talk about is one of the most important things you can do as a leader is start with self-awareness. I posted over the weekend, there was a quote that I saw, and it was a biblical quote from one of the saints talking about that in order to know God, you must know yourself. And I think if you're going to know anything, you got to know yourself first. And it all starts with self-awareness. And I love working with leaders, and I appreciate leaders who are willing to look at themselves first. It's the first step in everything that we do. I know it's the first step in everything that you do, Jackie. So let's give the listeners a little bit of history. So, Jackie, you and I met in your previous venture with the folks at Selling from the Heart, 𝗟𝗲 and my good friend Larry Levine, who wrote Selling from the Heart. And I will tell you this: one of the things I know about you is you are a true advocate of selling from the heart, because what selling from the heart means. So it was a great avenue for us to meet.
Absolutely. And I will always be forever grateful for both the guys at Selling from the Heart. They without them, I don't meet amazing people like yourself. I don't meet my best friend, Liz Windling, who's another coach, has been on Why Not Leadership. And I don't meet Don Barden. And
right.
And what he's created now is history in the making.
Yeah, it's truly and we had Dawn on the show too. So we've had a little bit of a preview of the book. And here's what I want you guys to do as listeners. As you listen to Jackie talk, right, you can go back and go back to the Don Barden episode, because he wrote the book. It started with some research he started doing on leadership, right? And then he wrote and he's a PhD, and he wrote a book. He wrote he did extensive research on the difference in leadership styles between men and women, and how women, there are certain qualities and things that women do that come naturally to them that don't come naturally necessarily to men. And that's in the nurturing, and that's in the listening. So we're going to get into all of that. But we did have Dawn on, but I just didn't think I would be doing you guys a disservice if I didn't bring you the woman behind the scenes, the contributor that pushes Dawn forward and makes him look so good. And I know Dawn would say the same thing. And this doesn't happen without Jackie. So knowing the work, all the hard work that Jackie did to help bring Selling from the Heart to the place where they are now, and they're doing amazing. I actually am going to have them on the podcast soon. But also to see this amazing individual, this amazing human, Jackie Joy, come to work and start doing this work for Don Barden and Here Come the Girls. So you're in for a treat. Jackie, I think this would be a good time for me to read your introduction, because I want people to know who I'm talking to.
The Jackie of all trades.
A Jackie of all trades. Well, you know what? You're more than a Jackie of all trades. You're amazing. So let me tell you a little bit about Jackie. We're going to introduce her. She is a chief strategy and business development manager who partners with CEOs and HR leaders to foster inclusive, high-performing workplace cultures. Drawing on insights from Dr. Don Barden's doctoral research, here come the girls. Women take over global leadership from 2028 to 2032. So that's the years we're looking at. And I've got a 13-year-old daughter that in 2028, maybe 2030, she's going to be out there, right? So it's just really important. Plus, I have a 35-year-old daughter who's already taken over some global leadership positions. Jackie delivers tailored keynotes, workshops, and strategic consulting to address challenges in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Her work empowers organizations to transform talent struggles into growth opportunities, boosting engagement, retention, and leadership impact. So, Jackie, welcome to the show.
Thank you
there,
so much.
there is your formal introduction. There's a couple of things I said there. You know, there's a big spotlight right now on a word that's in your title: diversity, equity, and inclusion, and mostly a negative spotlight. But I know that there are positives in it. So tell me how you're dealing with it, because it's in your title. It's one of the first things people see. Diversity, equity, inclusion is maybe taking a back seat in some places. But tell me. I know you have something to say on that.
Well, I do. And it's actually, what Don says, because he's the behavioral economist. He's been in economics for a long time. And let's take the word diversity for a moment. If economics was a person, they don't understand the question of diversity, because globally we are already diverse. So diversity is something that we don't even look at so much, even though we embrace diversity. But really what the highlight should be on is inclusion. Inclusion, everyone should be included. It doesn't matter who they are, where they came from, because we've seen people rise from low levels of poverty and become a billionaire. We've seen that in our lifetime. So you never know the golden gem behind what is in the person's heart. And Don, Dan, that really starts with understanding what your why is. So we'll get into that, I'm sure. But, those are the important things to know, is everybody has something to offer. Just because they come from a different caste, a different culture, that doesn't mean they don't have something to share, and something grand that they're going to offer other humans on this planet, which is one of the reasons why I had to go and join forces with Don. So, and I'm very visual, so I'm gonna do visuals. So the first one was the perfect plan. This is what the elite 1% do.
And let me say something about that. Jackie recommended it. I read it, and it is. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're in sales, if you're leading a team, I highly, highly recommend the perfect plan. There's so much gold in there for leaders, for planners, for anyone who is ever in a situation where they've got to prepare for a high stakes meeting. I highly, highly recommend the perfect plan. So let me give you that, and that is by Dr. Don Barden also.
Yes, and this is a doctoral thesis as well.
Perfect.
So we have two powerhouse doctoral theses. The second one now is Here Come the Girls. And it's it's a celebration of why women will take over global leadership in 2028. And this is history. This is all history in the making. We're already, we're at 42% right now.
Right.
So we're getting there. By 2028, we'll be there. But one of the things that was uncovered, and if you go back and listen to Dan and Don talk, that's going to be hard for my little brain, Dan and Don. So it is just something women do so men can be taught it. So we're not saying, hey, all these organizations that have a men as a leader, you need to kick them out. No, but what the world is looking for is the way women lead. And we lead with, all right, I'm gonna do my simplified version, because Dawn will say it's sympathy, empathy, meeting him in the middle. So, and I've always said, when I'm training executives, no
Right.
matter how old the person is that is on your team, they want to be seen, heard, understood, and therefore valued.
Yes.
Because when people feel valued, they will bend over backwards and do everything, because people they want that in their lives. They
Yeah.
ache for that in their lives. So those are some of the things, and that's what was uncovered. Was one of the biggest things is people are aching to have how women lead. They want
Yes.
to be seen, heard, and understood. Our clients want to be seen, heard, and understood and feel valued. They don't want to have some commission breath salesperson come in and just throw things at them. They
Hey,
want to
Jackie,
sit down and have that conversation.
I love that. When I think about, and I think it's biological, right? We all have a mom and a dad, and if we were blessed to grow up with a mom and a dad, I know who I like to be led by because mom hugged me, mom loved me. There was no doubt in my mind that mom absolutely cared about me, and she made me feel valued. She always had compliments. She hugged me when I came home and I was crying, and she was there for me, and I felt supported. Dad was a leader too, right? But he wasn't that kind of leader. And when you think about who you would go to battle for, right? If somebody was going to harm mom, boy, you jump in front of a speeding train because that is my leader. That's the person who I want to make sure if I have a choice, I want to hold on to her. Right. And of course, going to history, my mom's no longer with us, and I love my dad. I love playing golf with him and spending time with him, but it's a different relationship. And so I think what you're talking about is, we talk about it, why not leadership? We want to develop teams that would jump in front of a train for you, that would say, hey man, I'll do anything my leader says because I trust him and he values me. He or she values me. I feel seen, I feel heard, and I feel understood and valued. So that's such a big part of that. And there's not, and I think let's not get away from, because I want to make sure we get some more from you on the diversity, equity, and inclusion topic, because again, I don't think it's a bad word. I think what we're talking about, and I think what happens in some companies or even within government, what happens is that gets abused, and we're not letting everyone have equal access, right? Well, it goes completely the other way, but we're only looking at gender or only looking at race or only looking. I think the importance is diversity of backgrounds and diversity of opinion. And this is one of those opinions, understanding that naturally women lead different than men do. And then it's not every woman. There are women that can lead just like men, and there are men that can lead just as empathetically as women do. So tell us a little bit about the research. What made Jackie Joy say, you know what, I want in, Don, I want to get on your train because this is going to change the world. And what's the one thing, or what's two or three things that to you said, I want to be a part of this?
Well, there's several things. One is, it's history in the making. It's, I've lived through a lot of the patriarchal system. I've lived through having these brilliant ideas that were just kind of like, yeah, okay, that's nice. And then your male counterpart, a week later says the exact same thing that you came up with. And it was a brilliant idea, and let's implement it right away. So I want to be able to show the other next generations coming, and
Mm-hmm.
they're already getting there. There's a lot of women empowerment groups, but one of the things that had always steered me away, and I mean no disrespect to anyone, but one of the things that always had steered me away is that a lot of women empowerment groups, they put down the male leaders. And
Mm.
I am so not about that. I am helping level people up and bringing people to the next level. And that is one of the things that Here Come the Girls is all about. We have an entire section of, male allies and how to be a male ally. We're creating a workshop for just male leaders to help level them up and think differently. about the way that they think right now. So, and, you know, it's not changing the whole perception of, oh, well, my buddy needs a promotion, instead of putting the right person in the right seat. It doesn't always have to be a female, but you need to put the right person in the right role to make your organization grow. And these were all very important points for me. And, you know, I have a daughter, I have a granddaughter. I want them to have a world that they're not looked at because they're a female and might not, that they can't get the top roles in the C-suite, that they're just as smart. So these were all extremely important to me, and it hit every button for me. And it's just something I had to do. I had to be a part of this.
I really do appreciate you bringing a couple of things you brought up is what the changes that we're going to see. So what does a world where majority of women are in leadership positions, and let's talk about that because it's in the news right now, Jackie. Women in leadership positions, for example, in the military. I'm speaking as a veteran, so I see what's happening there. There are certain places, and I think as leaders, teaching our male leaders who are in those combat roles where they may be the only people who will be there will be those that can pass those physical standards, and the majority of those are going to be men. You still need to create loyalty. You still need to create trust. So what are some of the qualities and how is Dawn in the Here Come the Girls movement helping men become more empathetic, more understanding, more able to help people feel their teams feel seen, heard, understood, and valued?
It's getting them to really understand the whole process of how people want to be treated. Like, even men don't want to be treated like they're invisible in the room. They want to be treated like someone knows that they exist. They want to be treated like, hey, wow, that was a good point that you made. Let's take that and collaborate it with what, you know, this other person said. So it is so important that everybody be seen, heard, and understood and valued. This isn't an all or nothing. Yes, the name is called Here Come the Girls, but this is really going to be a celebration of us collaborating, people coming together. Where does the magic happen? I say a lot when I'm talking and training with other groups that, you know, we have equal and opposites everywhere. We have the sun, we have the moon, we have dark, we have light, we have
Right.
men, we have women, we have yin, we have yang. Where does the magic happen? It's when they meet in the middle. That's where the magic happens. And that's one of the things, and this isn't we need to just teach men. There's women that had to go through really tough patriarchal systems that we have to unravel them now to be their authentic selves and not be what the patriarchs want them to be or thought they should be. And we have men that were in patriarchal system and then they got a daughter. And they couldn't bring up their daughter the same way that they brought up their team. They had to soften. They had to sit and listen. And those are some of the beautiful things that are coming to fruition. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. My son was the one that taught me to be a better listener. Like, he was my third. So when my first two were born, they were 15 months apart. And I was trying to keep the house clean, do all this thing. And it's like, they would be telling me stories and I'd be, yep, 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 yep. Didn't hear a thing that they were saying, but I would yes them to death, like as if I was listening. Well, by the time my third came around, he would start telling me a story, and he's a talker. I love him to death. He's my talker. And he would be telling me a story. And then he'd go, Mom, you weren't listening. Now I have to start my story all over again. And I would melt into a chair and go, what, Dave? What can I do for you? And he would tell me a story. And that was the one that felt the most seen.
I love that.
But
You
that,
listened.
yeah, listen, and that's what we need to do to our workforce. As
Mhm.
leaders, we need to stop the busyness that's around us. When someone has an opinion, stop and listen for a minute. What are they saying? How is this going to impact your industry? How is this going to impact your culture?
Mhm.
Because if you just blow them off out the door going, yeah, whatever, guess what's going to happen? The culture is start going to tank.
Mhm.
So it's like a domino effect. As we start training the leaders will start training the departments. The departments will now feel so seen, heard, understood. They're going to go back. We work with HR a lot to
Right.
help change that whole culture. And we have a great system. And we use the proven facts of 2 doctoral studies, because
Right.
here's what we're also finding. A lot of the women that are already leaders, they're already doing what's in the book. This is
Mhm.
why their retention is higher. So, fun fact, you heard it from Dawn too. Fun fact is the average age of a worker is 39 years old,
Mhm.
and they change jobs every 3 years. That's an HR nightmare,
Right.
because every 3 years, that's almost 100% turnover.
Yeah.
But with women, they stay longer. They stay 6 years. That's a lot of money for the organization that they're
Right.
not having to dish out. So, but a lot of women already do this. So that's where the perfect plan comes in.
Well, you brought something up that I want to talk about.
Yep.
Because I was in corporate for many, many years before I went into the role that I'm in now. Um, One of the things I noticed, and this is not a bad thing, uh, a lot of the really strong women leaders that I worked with and worked for, they almost took on a male persona, where they were tough, they were mean, and they got stuff done, and they cursed, and one of the things that I think I'm hearing you say is you don't have to act like a man to be an effective leader as a woman, right? You can be who you are. And I think as men, we don't have to act like brutes, like Neanderthals in order to get things done, because there's a value to understanding the different ways that people need to be led, not just want to be led or going to get things done. There's task orientation, and then there's people orientation. We can hire anybody to do the thing. How do we get the person to do the thing, love doing the thing, and want to do it for more than 3 years and not be looking? The research shows 70% of our workforce is disengaged, and about 30% of them are actively disengaged. And when we look at that, when we look at Tim Cosby's research, he says those actively disengaged, those are people that are actually working against you. They're literally trying to help, not trying to thwart your success. So not only are they disengaged, they're actively disengaged. And he uses a great example. Think of a football team. He goes, if 3 out of those 11 guys are actively disengaged, they're trying to not let you score a touchdown. Imagine if one of them is the quarterback. What if he's literally actively trying to lose the game? He's trying to throw interceptions. He's trying to hand the ball off to the opposing guy that's coming to tackle him. That's really scary. And so, how can we keep people engaged? And I think you bring that up. But I'd like to get your thought on that, because I am sure, as a woman leader with your experience in industry, you've seen that kind of female leadership, where they're trying to be like the guys. What does the research say they should be doing? And get, you got a 35-year-old. My daughter is a 35-year-old leader in a Fortune 500 company. What would you say to those young women right now with regards to that?
It's really about, as much as the word has been completely overused at this point, but you really need to bring your authentic self to the table, not who they think they want,
Hmm.
because God don't make junk.
Right.
Very improper saying, but whatever. But it's finding that inner glow. What made you you?
Hmm.
It's not what others think you should be, because then you're losing your own power. You're giving your power away when you're pretending to be someone else.
Right.
So who do you want to be? And one of the things that was uncovered is the thousands of leaders that Don and his team researched, they embraced their femininity. They embraced who they were, who they wanted to be, not who someone else thought they should be. Because when you're acting like someone else thinks you should be, your cortisol level is going to go high, because you're going to feel stressed. You're going to feel like you can't do anything right. Imposter syndrome is going to come up. You're going to have all these other issues because you're not being who you were meant to be, who you were put on this planet to be. What were you meant to do? Not who others think you were meant to do.
Right.
So it's really coming down to knowing yourself, understanding what you want. Now, can you go around being a jerk to everyone? No, you can't. You're going to have a horrible culture if you do. But you really have to see other people as human beings, especially your clients. And this is why it's kind of like the perfect storm, because our workforce is needing this.
Right.
Our economy is needing this. Oh, by the way, women taking over global leadership, we're going to put $15 trillion and 15 trillion into the economy. That's huge. Do you want to be a part of it and start making these changes, or do you want to get left behind? The choice is really yours. Whoever's running the company, choice is yours. How do you want to do it?
Yeah, tell us more about that, Jackie. How do leaders prepare for this? Because it's coming. You've said it. It is historically happening, and it's not anything we can deny. We see the numbers continuously increasing. We're at 42%. So in about 3 to 4 years, we're going to see a majority of women in leadership roles across the globe. How do companies prepare? What does a CEO need to do to be prepared? How can they proactively be prepared for this wave of female leadership? Or again, as we said, if you've got male leadership, if you're in a male dominated industry, how do you prepare to lead in a way that you're able to have the same positive impact that women are having on the leadership space?
Absolutely. Great question. Thank you for asking. So, the important thing to talk about is readiness. Dr. Barden's research, and it's science. This is not something that it's not pie in the sky. He didn't pull it out of just to have a book. This is it's mathematically and scientifically proven that women will take over global leadership. But it's not because of quotas. It's not because it's a movement. It's because the data shows that their leadership style aligns with the workforce, the economy, and what clients are demanding. So organizations that will win aren't going to be the ones just checking boxes. They're going to be the ones that are rebuilding culture. They're going to be the ones that are developing inclusive leadership pipelines. And they're going to be the ones that are aligning their strategy with the shift in how the leadership style is. And they're going to start now. Because if you start in 2028, you're going to miss the boat.
Yeah, they'll already be in place, right? And you're going to be reacting rather than being proactive. Let's talk about something you brought up earlier, Jackie. You talked about understanding yourself and self-understanding. And so you and I did some work in the past. So we know your YOS, and everybody that comes on the show has their YOS. I think I've had one guest that ever didn't take the YOS, and we know yours. And so I think this will help the audience understand you a little bit better. But you lead with the Y of contribute. And I mean, if you're listening to this interview, even if you don't know what the definition of contribute is, you probably see this as we talk about it. Jackie's primary why is to make a difference, make a positive impact, and be part of a greater cause. Your how is mastery, which tells me that you are someone that values information, depth of knowledge, and breadth of knowledge. So you're somebody that not only do you contribute, how you contribute is by understanding things at a deep level. You mentioned you read Don's book 3 times prior to making a decision to join his venture. So we know that we expect that from people with the how of mastery. We also expect that you're not going to jump into anything until you know it really well. You want to be an expert on it, and so we can count on depth in the discussions that we have with Jackie. And your what is trust, which tells us that you're someone who values trust, being dependable. You're a dependable individual, and you expect others around you to act accordingly. And what that means also is that you're somebody that does what they say they're going to do. So tell us a little bit about, because you mentioned it earlier, how that came into play into your decision to join Don's team and help him move this cause forward.
Well, thank you for asking. Before I had even taken the YOS, I always kind of innately knew what I was, but I could never articulate it. I'd never had the words to say, hey, I feel that success happens when I contribute to a greater cause. What better of a greater cause than women taking over global leadership? And not only that, but teaching men how to be allies alongside of them and with them. That when we're not saying it's going to be 100% all or nothing, all women, that's it, that, men don't have a place. No, we're saying that we want this collaborative effort. That's what we're training for, to teach each other instead of working against one another, to raise each other up. So my contribute is, if it was a cell, it would be the happiest cell ever, because I am contributing to a greater cause. Mm-hmm. Here Come the Girls. And then also The Perfect Plan. It was another one of my favorite books. And I'm not saying that just because I work with Don. I was his biggest fan prior to even working with him. So, and then mastery, my gosh, my how. I'm like living my dream is understanding, working with two proven systems of 2 doctoral theses to bring that to organizations,
right?
So they know that their teams are going to be elevated, their leadership's going to be elevated, their culture is going to be elevated. That is a beautiful thing. And trust is my go-to. I love trust. Being able to help people understand what trust is about. Helping leaders. Hey, by the way, when you told someone that you would make a phone call at 1:00 and now it's 1:10 and you haven't made that phone call, you're starting to lose trust, and that person's starting to lose trust in you. People don't understand that today. Mm-hmm. Little things like that. So all of those together, yes, that make me up. And my 4th one is make sense. So everything has to make sense to me. So those are some of the reasons why I joined Don and Here Come the Girls, and getting this out to the world of, it's such an amazing thing for leaders of any gender.
So Jackie, let's do this before we forget, and we'll put it in the show notes for everyone. But how can we get a hold of the book? Where's the book? I hope it's on Amazon and we can get it there. That's one place. But what's the best way to get the book? And we'll get a link to you guys and we'll put it in the show notes. And then what if somebody wants to work with Jackie or with Don? Is there a program that you guys are putting corporations through to help prepare for this? What's that looking like from your side of the house?
We are. So yes, Here Come the Girls is on Amazon. You can get it in paperback and get it on hard copy. It's not on Audible just yet, but we're working on that. Anyone that reaches out to me either by email and told me that they heard me here on Dan's podcast, sorry, Dan, I will send them an e-copy of The Perfect Plan.
Perfect. So what's that email, Jackie? So we can put it in the show notes.
My email is Jackie and that's JACKIE @DWBarden. So it's DWBARDEN.com.
Perfect.
Or reach out to me message me on LinkedIn, and it's Jackie Joy. I think it's Jackie Joy 28.
Okay, Jackie Joy 28. So we'll find you on LinkedIn. We'll make sure and put that in the show notes. We'll get this will be featured where I know we're going to go live with it in a couple of weeks on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Facebook. So when you're if you're seeing this, it's already live. So you're able to click on it. We're happy to have you on, Jackie. What about the programs that you guys have created? I know, with a PhD and a mastery working in here, we've got to have some programs that people can sign up for. What can people expect if they work with Don Barden and you on bringing this information into their corporations?
Oh, well, they can expect some one-on-one training with Dawn. They can expect group training with the two of us. They can expect when HR reaches out to me, depending on the size of the organization,
Right.
they actually can get some training at no cost. But you'd have to reach out to me to find out how.
Excellent, excellent. And what can we, I think the question I'm asking myself as a CEO and a leader of a team is, what is my team going to come out with? What are, let's say I have 100-person organization and I've got 100 leaders. So I've got maybe a couple thousand employees, but I've got 100 leaders that I've got to train. I get hired to do keynotes and training for companies all the time. And the question they ask is, okay, what are we going to walk away with? So what do people walk away with after going through one of these trainings? How long does it take? What are some of the key questions people might have? And I know it's going to be customized for every client, but what's the big takeaway that folks will come out of when they hire you guys?
I don't know exactly how Don says it, but you'll think differently around the way that you're thinking about your thinking. He says something beautiful like that. I haven't got that down packed yet, but there are so many different things that they'll come away with. Just seeing other people differently, interacting with other people differently, rebuilding that culture,
Right.
that people are so excited to be a part of it. They're going to tell their friends and families if they're looking for jobs there. And if they have to leave a position because their dream job came and they had to leave their corporation, they're actually going to go thank HR to say, thank you for our time here. Because we're changing. There's a lot of things that we're changing up. We're even changing a lot of things that HR is doing different, doing things differently, and how they have an impact item that's right in front of them that is kind of has some dust on it that we've dusted off, and it's going to be a game changer for them.
Excellent, excellent. So, so you work with CEOs, founders, HR leaders.
HR leader.
Who else? Who else are you talking to, Jackie?
We usually go directly to HR because they're the ones that are handling a lot of any training, any coaching. They deal with employee benefits, which we're going to change to employee gratitude plans, but that's really another whole show because that would be way too long for us to discuss today.
Right.
So there's, and CEOs, of course, if they want to know more about it from the get-go, but those are who we deal with.
And I want to ask this question because this, I think it's related. How can, if companies want to prepare, not just talk about what's coming when women take the global leadership reins, and you said it earlier. The question is, are you going to be ready or are you going to be left behind? So how can companies prepare for this oncoming wave of female woman leadership?
Well, other than hiring us, this isn't just a book on leadership. There's action items in here. There's things that they can do just by reading Here Come the Girls. There's so many different things to think about, action steps to take, strategies to take. You can actually use this to start preparing for the shift in global leadership.
So how far out is Don book? That's always a question because right now I can imagine as the book just came out, you got a lot of exposure. He's been on a few podcasts himself. How far out can someone expect if they decide, hey, I want to take action today? I want to hear from the guy that wrote the book on the oncoming wave of women in leadership. What's that timeline looking like? And I'm sure it's dependent, right, on the size of the engagement, but yeah, how is it going? Number one, are you guys staying busy with that? And number two is, how far out are you booked?
We are staying extremely busy with this, but one thing that is most important to us is our clients. So if we have someone that needed training and they needed it to start in a week, 2 weeks,
Mhm.
we will make it happen.
Excellent,
Because
excellent.
that's
So,
how important not only this message is, but getting our clients prepared for it. Because there's a lot of organizations that are struggling with, they have leaders that were only put in their leadership role because they were the best salesperson. That doesn't mean they were the best leader. And
mhm,
they need to be trained up. That doesn't mean they're a bad leader, but it doesn't mean that they know everything on how to lead. And we can help with that. We also can help with the culture. Culture isn't just about if you have a pool table or ping pong table or popcorn machine in your break room.
mhm.
Culture has to be with people, like I said, I've said it a million times, being seen, heard, understood, so they're feeling value. That's what culture is. You
Right,
need not only for your workforce to feel valued, you need for your clients to feel valued. And if
right.
you can do that, if you listen, go back and listen to the podcast that Dan had with Dawn, you will understand that this will 9x your company and you don't want to be left behind. And this is all mathematically proven. This is not just throwing a number out there.
I love this headline. I love the headline of, women are going to take over global leadership in 2028, and I want to make sure we capture that. Jackie, let's talk a little bit about you, because you have an impressive resume. You come from a background in the insurance world, and you've held some high level leadership positions, and now you're bringing that to a different world in the consulting and the leadership space. Where was it? Where did it start for you in terms of understanding that you were a different kind of leader? And obviously you're bringing that to the work that you're doing now. But what was your big aha moment where you saw, hey, I have better retention? Hey, what are the things that made you say, I'm leading differently than others, and it's effective?
It was, well, first of all, it goes back to when I first started in the insurance space. Everything felt like what everyone was a walking brochure.
Mm,
And I love that human connection. And I would ask my clients things. In fact, the people that helped me build my best presentation was my clients.
mm,
Because after I finished a call with them, I would call them maybe a day or two later, whether I sold them or not. So you got to put your ego aside for this one. If you didn't sell them, you call them back and go, I wanted to thank you for your time. Do you mind sharing a couple questions, answers for me? Because you hold the key to my success. Where did I do well? What could I have done better?
mm.
And I did that with every client. And
Wow.
they helped, and I kept massaging my presentation and how I worked with them, the questions I would ask. And that's what made me successful, but it also made me very different. I wouldn't be the leader that said, you need to dial 300 dials a day, blah, 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 blah. I would say, how many people are you going to impact today?
Hmm.
What are your beliefs in this product? Do you believe this will change someone's life? Yes. Okay. So, how many people are you going to impact today? Let's go get them. Let's go have these conversations. That made me a different leader. I saw too many people being trained the other way
Hmm.
and leaving an industry that, they could do very well in, but because they didn't have the proper training, and how other leaders had trained them, they were walking out. So I know something had to change.
Hmm.
So that's how, and I actually am back in insurance because that's one of the ways we help clients is through their benefit plans.
Hmm. Tell
And
us, yeah, tell me this. Let's go back to that a little bit. I want to dig into that a little bit more. Um, if I met you 5 years ago, Jackie, how would your leadership look different than it does today?
I have done a whole lot of internal self work. than I did back then. You know, for those that know me, and I don't know, not everybody knows this type of stuff, but I've done what's called a shamanic wheel. I've done a lot of introspection. You know, Dan said something earlier about, you know, you don't blame others first. I said, I had heard from a gentleman years ago that when you are pointing your finger at someone, you have three fingers pointing back at you. So
Mhm.
what did you do to make that impact? So it's not the other person. So it's always self-introspection first.
Mhm.
So even though I was always led with care and guidance and understanding, I'm a much stronger person now because I would tell another leader, and I have told a regional manager when I was not quite up to his level yet, I said, you and I are going to have to agree to disagree because I'm not going to do that to a client. I'm not going to put them on something that they don't need. So I found that confidence, standing my ground, putting myself in that other person's shoes is so important. But maintaining who you are at your core is so vitally important, and it helps you communicate better with others as well.
I love that's a great answer, Jackie. How tell me about how you know when you're in leadership, you often get challenged, right? What was the hardest truth you had to face as a leader, and what happened when you did that?
The hardest truth to face.
And you talked a little bit about the introspection and the hard work you've done, but what
Mm.
was the hardest thing you had to face?
Is trigger points.
Mm,
Trigger points were very difficult for me to, you know, because they didn't understand your backstory. Leaders don't understand how you were brought up or your challenges or all that. We don't with anybody unless, you know, we're married to them. You don't really understand everybody's where they came from, how they were brought up.
right.
So you could say something very innocently and it could trigger someone else, or they could say something to you as the leader very innocently and it could trigger a childhood wound or a
Mm,
teenage wound or even a marital wound. You never know. So understanding that people don't wake up every day going, I want to piss that person off, I want to ruin their life. They don't do that.
mm,
They just don't do that. So
right.
really understanding, and this is really more for everyone, not just me, is we really have to understand and take a moment. There's so much pause. There's so much to that pause in the moment
Mhm.
to understand that person that you're leading and not just go full barrel because, oh, I'm worried about budgets. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about that. There's a human being in front of you that's asking for your guidance,
Mhm.
and they're more important because when they start feeling valued, everything else will start clicking.
That's a great answer. I love that you put the importance of understanding the person, right? Because and like you said, they didn't come to work and say, "I cannot wait to upset Jackie today. I can't wait to make her feel like she's an ineffective leader." No, I think it's you've got to look at everything that's going on with that person. So, and as we get into this age of AI where people are much more effective, and I don't think AI is replacing people. I think it's making people more effective. I think the more we use AI, the more people become more important, is what I feel. Um, but those human interactions become so much more important. What's one key piece of advice you would give our listeners, that what is something actionable that they can do starting today, other than to call you and bring you and Dawn in, but what's one thing they can start doing today to prepare for this next generation of leaders?
Pay attention to what's going on around you. Like, take the blinders off of your day-to-day grind that's happening every moment and stop and do some reflection, not only on yourself, which is super important, but of what's truly happening around you. Because you will see either, you know, hey, our company, we're on the right path. We're all doing what we need to do. I don't get a lot of griping and complaining. HR is fairly happy. You know, we don't have a lot going on. Or you're going to go, oh my gosh, I've been so head down within my own realm of stuff that needs to get done. I haven't paid attention to my workforce. I don't know their names. You know, I haven't paid attention to who's coming, who's going. I haven't paid attention to, and when you lose track of what's going on around you,
Right.
your company's starting to lose traction.
Mm.
So really it's to start paying attention. And yes, I do work with Don and I do recommend his book, but I'm recommending it because there's action items to take in it. I cannot go through every action item that's in that book. It is an enormous amount. So it's really a guide that you can help to start training your team at the get-go.
I think that's a great answer. So I guess the advice is go get the book. Hold up the book, Jackie, so we can see it.
And pay attention to the people around you. What's really
Yeah.
going on?
I think it's
Take the
I think
blindfolders off.
take the time to listen, take the time to understand people. Take I think you also mentioned self-awareness. That's a great answer. Jackie, thank you so much for spending time with us today. We really are appreciative of you, of the work that you are doing, and we so much appreciate having you on the Lead Different podcast. What do you say we end the show on that note?
Why not?
Jackie, it's been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. We have our monthly meeting tomorrow morning with the rest of our super gang of leaders. So I'm looking forward to that. Have a great rest of your week, of your month. Guys, don't forget, if you get value from this podcast, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment and share this with your friends. We want to get the word out about Jackie, about Dawn, about Here Come the Girls, about this great message that they have for all of us about leadership in the upcoming 3 years and the way leadership is changing. So join us on this adventure with Jackie and Dawn. And don't forget to lead different. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, everyone.
This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different because great leaders change the world.